The blood on your gloves is still warm when they walk in. It is 11:40 at night in the trauma bay of Hospital General de Culiacán, and you have been on your feet for 14 hours. The fluorescent lights above the operating table hum at a frequency that has become the background noise of your entire adult life. The smell is what people never talk about. Iron, disinfectant, and something underneath both of those things that has no name. You recognize it now the way you recognize your own face in a mirror. You are 37 years old. You trained in Guadalajara. You came back to Sinaloa because this is where you are from. You came back because they needed surgeons and because once you believed that was a reason good enough to build a life on. That belief felt solid then. It feels different now. Two men are standing against the wall near the supply cabinet. They are not patients. They are not nurses. They are not anyone who should be in your trauma bay at 11:40 at night. You know this the way your body knows it before your mind catches up. A tightness in the sternum, a slight cooling of the hands. They are watching you work. One of them has a phone out. He is not looking at the screen. He is watching you with a stillness that does not belong in a room full of monitors and urgency. You finish closing the chest cavity of the man on your table. GSW, single entry wound, right lateral thorax, pneumothorax partially resolved. He came in 40 minutes ago in a black SUV with no license plates. 3 men carried him in through the ambulance bay without speaking to anyone. No name, no paperwork. You did what you were trained to do. You opened him up and you kept him alive. That is the only thing you know how to do in this room. That is the only thing that has ever made sense to you. When you step back and strip your first pair of gloves, the man with the phone walks toward you. He says your name, your full name, including your mother's surname. He says the name of the street where you live. He says your daughter is 6 years old and she attends the morning shift at Colegio Primavera. He reads all of this back to you like a grocery list. Flat, certain, a voice with no weather in it. He says there will be a new arrangement. You stand very still. The monitors keep beeping. You drive home that night along the Boulevard Zapata with your hands at 10 and 2, even though the streets are empty. You do not turn on the radio. The dashboard clock reads 1:17 a.m. You sit in the driveway for 11 minutes without getting out of the car. Inside, your wife is asleep. Your daughter is asleep. The house is dark except for the light above the stove that your wife always leaves on because she grew up in a house where the stove light meant someone was coming home. You think about calling someone. You open your contacts and scroll past colleagues, past your department chief, past a number labeled simply Dr. Reyes that you haven't used in 2 years. You close the phone. You already know what calling someone means. You have lived in this state your entire life. You are not naive about the architecture of fear in northwestern Mexico. The Sinaloa cartel does not make administrative errors. They did not come to your hospital by accident. They came because someone told them you were the best cutter on the overnight shift. That information was given freely, and that means the walls of your life have been thinner than you understood. You get out of the car, you go inside, you do not tell your wife. The first time they call you back, it is 19 days later. Your personal cell phone, a number you have never given to patients, rings at 2:50 a.m. A voice you do not recognize tells you that a vehicle is outside. You are told to bring your kit. You are told to say nothing to your wife. You tell her you are needed at the hospital. This is not a lie you have to construct carefully because it is essentially true every night of your life. She touches your arm in the dark without fully waking up. You carry that sensation with you in the elevator of a building you have never been inside. The building is near the canal where the streetlights have been dark for months. There are 4 men in the apartment. One of them is bleeding from his left thigh, entry and probable exit, the femoral intact. He is conscious. He is watching you with eyes that are flat and very focused, the way animals watch you when they are in pain but have not decided to trust you. You work for 90 minutes on a folding table with instruments from your bag and supplies someone has sourced from somewhere. Sealed packaging, legitimate pharmaceuticals, IV saline. Whoever arranged this has done it before. That understanding settles into your chest like cold water. You save his leg. You are driven home before sunrise. There is an envelope on the passenger seat of the vehicle. You leave it there. One of the men picks it up and places it in your jacket pocket without speaking. In your driveway, alone again, you open it. 40,000 pesos in banded hundreds. You sit with it in your lap for a long time. You tell yourself this was coercion. This was survival. You tell yourself that a surgeon who refuses and disappears helps no one. You run the logic carefully, the way you were trained to run a differential diagnosis. Rule out the causes that lead to worse outcomes. Identify the path of least damage. You are a doctor. You have a framework for impossible choices. You use it here because there is nothing else to use. The framework holds, for now. Months pass. The calls come every 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes more. You learn the rhythms of it. You learn to expect the phone before it rings. You learn that ballistic trauma in the field of narco-violence in Culiacán has its own taxonomy, particular wound patterns, particular calibers, particular complications. These complications arise when a man has been lying on a concrete floor for 6 hours before anyone calls you. You become very good at this specific kind of saving. Your hands stop shaking after the 3rd month. That is the detail that will stay with you longest. Not the blood, not the locations, the fact that your hands stopped shaking. One night in the 2nd year, they bring you 2 men at the same time. You triage them the way you have been trained. The one with the compromised airway first. The one with the abdominal wound second. The man with the abdominal wound is wearing different clothing than the others. A different style. You understand as you work. He is not one of theirs. He is a captured rival. He is alive because someone needs information from him, and he cannot provide information if you do not keep him breathing. You keep him breathing. You tell yourself this is your oath. You tell yourself that a doctor does not choose who deserves to live by the color of their shirt. You have believed this since medical school. You believe it now on a cellular level, the same way you believe in capillary refill time and the importance of a clean surgical field. But you also understand driving home that night that by keeping that man alive, you have become legible to another organization. You have a role in a system that extends in directions you cannot fully see. The Secretaría de Salud has no record of tonight. No chart exists. The man you saved has no name in any database. He is simply alive because of you. That fact will travel somewhere you cannot follow. You think about that on the drive home. You think about it at every red light. You stop sleeping well. This is not dramatic. It is administrative. Sleep becomes a negotiation rather than a rest. You lie next to your wife and you count her breaths. Your daughter is 8 now. She showed you a drawing she made at school last week. A house, a garden, stick figures that are supposed to be your family. She drew you in a white coat. She drew it carefully. She is proud of you. You look at the drawing for a long time. You try very hard to be present at dinner. You ask about your daughter's school projects. You pour wine you don't drink. You perform normalcy with surgical precision. Your wife tells you that you seem far away. She says it gently, not as an accusation, but in the way someone says a thing that has been true for a while and they have finally decided to say out loud. You tell her the hospital is difficult lately. This is the truest thing you have said in months. She believes you the way she has always believed you, completely, without requiring detail. That trust is the most expensive thing in your life now. You are spending it without her knowledge, and you cannot stop, and you cannot explain. There is one night that is different from all the others. You are in the apartment near the canal, and the man on the table does not survive. You do everything correctly. You know this. The wound was unsurvivable, but the men in the room do not know what you know. One of them puts a hand on your shoulder in a way that is not comforting. You understand in that moment that your margin of error is something someone has assigned a number to. That number is not generous. You stand in that room and you understand what you are now. You understand what you have agreed to without agreeing. You drive home at 4 a.m. and you sit outside your dark house for a long time. The stove light is on. Someone is coming home. The story is fiction. But the coercion of medical professionals in regions controlled by organized crime is real. In states across Mexico, including Sinaloa, documented cases describe physicians pressured under threat. These physicians were pressured to provide off-record care to cartel-affiliated wounded. The Secretaría de Salud has acknowledged it cannot fully account for what happens in the corridors of conflict. Surgeons, nurses, and paramedics operate inside a structure of violence they did not build and cannot dismantle, making decisions that no ethics board has a rubric for. Somewhere right now, a trauma surgeon in a city you could find on any map is finishing a shift that has no official record. They trained for a decade to save lives. They believed in their oath the way you believe in the stovelight, as proof that someone is still coming home. They think the arrangement is temporary. They are wrong. They are wrong the same way you were wrong from the very first night. The system does not release the people it finds useful. It catalogs them. It protects them up to the point where protection becomes inconvenient. And then it makes a different calculation. One you were never part of. One you were never meant to see coming. The tools of medicine, the sutures, the clamps, the careful hands, do not know the names of the men they serve. But the men know the names of the tools. They know your name. They know your daughter's school. They know the street. They knew all of it before you ever looked up from the table. You thought you were saving a life that night. You were. But you were also stepping into a room with no visible exit, and the door closed behind you so quietly you mistook the silence for safety. The hands stop shaking. That is what nobody tells you. That is the part that will outlast everything else. The steadiness you built in order to survive. That steadiness does not belong to you anymore. It belongs to the room near the canal, to the folding table, to the envelopes in banded hundreds. It belongs to a system that needed a surgeon and found one and never let go. And somewhere under all of it, still, the stove light. Still on. Still waiting. The hands stop shaking. That's what nobody tells you. The hands always stop shaking.